Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to this week's live. Today, we're going to be talking about the ISSB, and I will more than happily explain the acronyms, but I may be covering a lot of different acronyms today. It's just the nature of this space and ESG, and as with all of these different industries, they love to put in these acronyms. So let's get into it. Today, we're talking about the International Sustainability Standards Board, the ISSB, which is really sort of changing the ESG space quite rapidly. So if you are joining me along for this discussion, just make sure to say hello on the live. And also feel free to ask any questions along the way. Don't mind that at all. I believe I am on LinkedIn now. So anyways, LinkedIn and a few other places. So say hello if you're joining. And really what I wanted to get into is what is the ISSB to start with? I mean, it's the acronym that's really being thrown around a lot at the moment in terms of ESG. And the reason for that is there's so much out there. There's a lot of noise in the ESG space. And figuring out what is the best way forward is obviously complicated and multi-layered. And so the ISSB, which is really a body or framework of work that was developed by the IFRS, is essentially the consolidated way forward for ESG. And it takes into account all of the other different frameworks like the GRI and SASB and TCFD and so on. So it brings their equivalent nature into the ISSB structure so that businesses can really, as long as they align with the ISSB, be in alignment with the key frameworks that are out there. And I think it really depends on what is most important to your business and what is the perspective from which we're looking at that ESG framework within your business, because there's going to be different lenses when looking at this space. And so that's really what the ISSB helps businesses with, is to go to that one place to help simplify an otherwise pretty complex process. Nonetheless, it's still a lengthy process, and it is gaining a lot of traction around the world, even in Australia. And essentially, it's been around for a little while now. The COP discussions are really COP discussions, along with all of the scientific reports that are being released, are really governing the way the ISSB is taking form. And of course, the financial space has a big role to play in this, which is really where the IFRS comes in. The IFRS, along with the IASB, which are really financial and accounting standards boards, they're coming together to form what does the ISSB look like and what is going to be key and relevant in looking at your ESG governance framework within your business. And so as this space develops, it's obviously becoming a mandated reality for many countries. Sorry, I'm not sure if that's just my computer that has okay, that's all good. I think I'm back on. So as this starts to take shape, it's certainly starting to drive the requirements within businesses, and we'll get to the mandates that are relevant, especially in Australia. But certainly it is driving the ESG strategies for companies in a big way. So if you were to, start to look at this for your business, it would be highly recommended that you lean on a framework like this, or at least the principles within this framework, if you're trying to do this in-house on your own. But of course, the best way to do this is to speak to somebody externally, to collaborate with other consultants, or to collaborate with relevant businesses, to look at how does your ESG strategy really start to form and look, and what does that mean for not only your business operations, but what does that mean for your greater supply chain that is likely connected to many other businesses as well. So it's about looking at the material impacts and identifying which are the most important, what is really the right focus for your business, especially given your goals as a business, and then thinking about where are those greatest challenges that the business needs to close the gap on, and what are the actions that need to be taken in order to close the gap. And then probably at the end of that is, how do we then measure and verify this process of change? How do we keep the business accountable? And how do we manage that entire change process? Because it isn't just about putting in a system and then tracking some data, coming out with a report. It's much deeper, of course, and it really comes down to people and their cultural awareness and their ideas and their adversity to the change, and how to bring this in as a kind of a business as usual way of looking at things. So just as an FYI, I can't see anyone that is like, as in I can't see if people are live or not at the moment, because for some reason it's just not showing up. So if you are live, or if you don't feel comfortable right now, feel free to ask any questions later on. Feel free to reach out, but I'm just going to keep talking for now. So really, in terms of starting to look at this, a thing that most businesses are missing, well, look, they're missing a lot of steps in this space, but something that is really fundamental that every business needs is a data tracking system that is relevant to your business's material impacts. And so a data capture system that will not only monitor and track the data, but then also analyze it and then use it in a feedback process to improve the way that your business is operating and reduce the impacts of the particular key material metrics. So this is super important, and many businesses actually don't have that awareness across their operations, across their supply chain. And it really starts with some simple things, some simple question processes, surveying processes, onboarding the best suppliers for your supply chain, and the way that you onboard them. It's really some simple solutions to start with that will help you start to capture better data. And then, of course, you do need to put it onto a database, and the best way, or let's say the easiest, most streamlined way, is to use an ESG platform, because that way you've got a live dashboard of some sort that can show you how you're tracking in terms of your decarbonization, or how you're tracking in terms of using suppliers that are not involved in, say, modern slavery, or how are you tracking the gender diversity and the pay gap in your business. So the ESG platform can really help with that, and it's certainly a really effective way to finally start to let your data work for you, because we have so much data in this day and age. I mean, our phones itself are just these super powerful microcomputers that host so much data. And the problem is not the fact that, we don't have the data. We actually have a lot of the data, but it's about how we track it, how we monitor and track it, and then how do we, capture that for analysis and so on. So, smart data is probably the key thing here, is letting that start to work for us in a positive way, essentially. So the ISSB is certainly becoming, in focus, or important conversation around the world. I can speak, on the Australian behalf, or not on the behalf, but at least what's happening in Australia is that there is a active discussion at the moment around what legislation needs to come into play to essentially mandate the climate reporting for businesses in Australia. And of course, as it does, it always starts with the topmost countries, and the ASIC, which is the Australian Securities Investment Commission, actively discussing this with the Australian government, and they're looking at how do we embed this into the Corporations Act, into the ASIC Act, so that businesses are mandated to report on their climate risk. And as I said, it starts with the largest companies, so the listed companies, of course, and the ones that are making the most amount of money, essentially the most amount of revenue, because it is an administrative process. It's an idea of how do we first get the biggest companies doing this, but then how does it trickle down across the SME business group, which is actually the largest business group probably in any economy, is usually the SMEs. But at least in Australia, I know that from their latest release of the draft mandate, they're looking at any businesses so immediately in 2024 itself, any businesses that are 500 million plus are needing to report. So I'm talking about consolidated revenue. But then if you're 200 million plus, in the next few years, you're going to have to start reporting. And definitely within the next 3 years, 50 million plus companies are going to have to start reporting, which really there's a lot of businesses in that range. So that's not far off. 3 years' time is definitely ideally you would have started this earlier, but definitely it's a good amount of time to start the conversation now and to start looking at ESG, because why do you want to wait until it's mandated, until you're forced to report on this? Why not take that step now, take some proactive action now itself? That's where this opportunity really lies. And so, if you're unaware of this, certainly look it up. It's taking form, it's taking shape really quickly. And really what this means for businesses is to take that first step. And often the first step is not just to set a strategy that is not backed by clear material impact research, but actually do impact research first. And what that essentially means is we're talking about what is the material issues. So the tangible issues, in another word, is what are the tangible issues for your business, in your business operations, in your supply chain. And this is not just by having a technical person come in, do some measurements, do some report writing, and then say, here are your material issues. It's actually about speaking to stakeholders, the right key stakeholder groups, and then having these interactive workshopping conversations that actually dive deeper into the key issues that they face in their role, in their interactions with your business, in the way that they reach the community, depending on who the stakeholders are. There's a lot of questions to be asked, and once you go through this process with the key stakeholder groups, then you're able to dive deeper into what is probably the most important area for your business to focus on. So that's essentially what the place that most businesses need to start. And I think that needs to then lead very quickly to a process of starting to capture the right data then to address these material issues and start to take action on these material issues to close the gap towards your ESG goals or your sustainability goals. So yes, that's really the advice that I have for most businesses is to start to look at the key material issues in your organization. Certainly, start the conversation now. There's no cost in that. There's no sort of loss really for you as a business, but it'll at least open up some awareness and open up some conversations and ideas, and hopefully lead to a more impactful operation rather than operations that are just trying to get on by and doing the business as usual stuff. So those are my thoughts today. I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I certainly will be going live again next week. And I just wanted to say have a great day. Reach out if you have any questions or any thoughts, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. Take care.